I went to Evil Las Vegas alone, but I wasn't alone. I shared a hotel room with Sykkuno, but I didn't know that he had other intentions.
All right, stop. First couple of seconds, and already she's lying to accuse this guy of being a predator. You mean to tell me that you, as an adult, who, by the way, later said she had 3 past relationships, which means she's not new to this stuff. So as an adult, you mean to tell me that you didn't know that this guy wanted to be alone in a room with you because he wanted to have sex? Bullshit.
I don't sleep with anyone that I'm not dating. And it didn't happen that night. I didn't want it to happen. So instead, I just gave him oral. And then when he fell asleep, I got out of bed and I just ate a banana and I was just staring out the window. I was dissociating. I think I was sort of just dissociating. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? What just happened?
Okay, so you voluntarily had oral sex with a guy that you shared a hotel room with. What's wrong with that? No indications of coercion and no indications that he physically forced you into doing it, so why are you speaking like you're the victim of a sexual assault? Anyway, for those of you who are unaware, recently there's been some allegations against a very popular Twitch streamer who goes by Sykkuno or Thomas. A number of girls have come out and accused Sykkuno of being a predator who takes advantage of younger women who are small streamers. This one being Leia, who I guess was a former mod of his, and she's very obviously trying to frame this consensual encounter as a sexual assault. But before we talk about that, recently a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. You can use the link in my description or scan the QR code to take a short quiz to see if you qualify for a case. You may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. All right, so back to Leia's allegations against Sykkuno. I feel like this is the 10th set of false allegations that I've heard about in the past year. I don't know how often this happens with regular people, but with social media influencers or famous people in general, false accusations are rampant because accusers have an extreme incentive to make them. They get clout, they get money, or some of them are just crazy and they get to get revenge against an ex for breaking up with them. And there's really no downsides for the accuser, even if their allegations are very obviously false. No one goes to jail, no one loses their career over it, they don't even get a fine for it. So there's a high reward to virtually no risk, and worse, it hurts actual victims who are actually abused. That being said, let's go back to Leia's vast misrepresentations of her encounter with Sykkuno.
And I didn't ask him to share a room with me. I just simply asked him, hey, are you going to Evil Las Vegas? He said yes. And I said, oh, I'm trying to go this year. I'm looking at hotels and everything's so expensive. Do you pretty much have like any recommendations? Like, I know he lives in Las Vegas. And he said, oh, you're planning on coming. I actually have room if you just want a room with me. And I said, and I at first was not against it. I was like, are you sure? Like, no, I don't want to intrude. Like, I don't mind getting my own hotel. He said, no, like, I have extra room. I already paid for it. And I even asked him, I'm like, are you rooming with a group or with friends? And he said, no, but there's 2 beds. So like, you'll get your own bed.
She starts by saying, but I didn't ask him for a room. I'm guessing she's trying to make it seem like he forced it on her, but it's very obvious that she was asking for a room when she said, gosh, gee, I want to go to Evo so badly, but the rooms are so expensive. Do you have any recommendations? He's like, yeah, my room. Leia, you can't Google or use Expedia to find the cheapest hotel? You're a really terrible liar. Basically, this is her asking for a room without being direct because that's just how women operate. Oh, but don't worry because there's 2 beds in the room. Let me put it this way, guys. If you were in a relationship, would you let your girlfriend go to a video game tournament by herself and share a room with a super famous multi-millionaire streamer who she mods for? If there were 2 beds, would women trust their boyfriend in a situation like this?
But me, being a dumbass and not being very very strong in like mentally, not physically. I mean, maybe this is a people pleaser in me, but and maybe I don't know, benefit of the doubt, or because I still thought he was cute, or I don't know. He tried to make a move on me, resolute, I don't know. But he made a move on me. It did take like 30 minutes.
Right, a people pleaser. That's definitely a red flag word. But how is he able to make a move on you? There were 2 separate beds and you didn't want to do anything, right? So why would you be sitting close enough for him to make a move when the selling point of the room was that there's enough space for you to keep your distance? As a side note, though, really one of the best ways to tell if someone's lying is to ask them specific questions about the event that would be obvious if it actually happened. Most people aren't smart enough to be able to perfectly fabricate a story, so if they're lying, they'll stumble when they try to give specific details, or they'll give answers that don't make sense. But here's the reality of this situation between Sykkuno and Leia. We all know what Netflix and chill means, and 30 minutes after the door closed, she was already getting intimate with him, so she basically wasted no time. This is where the oral happens.
I just gave him oral, okay? This is like so personal. Like, I don't talk about my intimate life at all, but I don't sleep with anyone that I'm not dating.
Obviously, that's a lie. Not only did you get intimate with a person who you weren't in a relationship with, but he didn't even have to buy you dinner first. That's like the definition of easy.
I barely slept that night. Then in the morning, he didn't really want to talk about it.
Talk about what? You consented to oral. What's there to talk about? I mean, outside of you clearly trying to make consent look like rape.
And I was just kind of trying to open it up and talk to him about like what happened. We were going to talk about it, I don't know, later or something. I don't know, but I can't remember. But he ends up hugging me, but then pushes me onto the bed from the hug. And we end up having sex. I didn't have it in me to tell him to stop. So I just let it happen. And while this was happening, while we were doing it, I always wear protection, and I only sleep with people I'm in a relationship with. So I'm not used to one-night stands or anything like that. But we were not using protection, and I'm legally hard of hearing, if you guys don't know already. But in the heat of the moment, he asked me if it was safe, and I didn't hear him. But I just said, and he finished.
That sounds a lot like consent. Not only did you not say no or give any resistance, but you openly said yes to unprotected sex when he asked. Oh, but she's like sort of deaf or something, therefore it's sexual assault. I mean, if you didn't want to be intimate, you could have began with, I don't want to have sex, when he initiated that morning. Did you not say that you refused him the night before and went with oral instead? How are you suddenly not able to say no? And also, it being the case that you are a helpless people pleaser who can't say no to anything, even though you did before, but that being the case, why did you put yourself in a position where you were alone in a hotel room with a guy who you think is single and you admitted you were attracted to?
Because I still thought he was cute, or...
Isn't that kind of a bad position to be in if you want to maintain the standard of only being intimate with guys that you're dating? So I don't believe you at all, and personally, I'm kind of tired of all these women asking to be treated like children when they're basically in their mid-20s like Leia, or even people who are in their 30s who have dated multiple people yet want to pretend that they don't know obvious information about how relationships work so they can falsely accuse someone.
This is actually probably the worst one of these videos that I've ever seen in my life. It's very weird that she's framing her own supposed moral guideline as an implication that he did something wrong. But you weren't in a relationship with him at all. You obviously agreed to give him a blowjob, and then you have sex with him the next day. Like, I don't want to sound like an asshole, right? But in my opinion, something like this is either rape or it's not. And the fact that she's framing it like, oh, I only do this. And the reason why I think she's doing that, and maybe not the reason, but I think that what's happening is that you hear that, and then the implication is that, well, then why did she do it? And then your mind goes to the perspective of maybe he made her do it.
Yeah, but clearly she consented to all of it, which is why she isn't making any strong statements, because if I were Sykkuno and Leia made any statements here that could legally get her into trouble, I would be suing the shit out of her. Though I don't get why Leia made this video in the first place. She even says that she stayed friends with Sykkuno after the event, despite pretending that this entirely consensual interaction was traumatic. Allegedly, this all happened 3 years ago when she was around 23, so why the change of heart now? Well, that's because recently it was revealed that Sykkuno was in a long-term relationship when he got with Leia, and not only that, but he also had a whole lineup of women that he was seeing at events and hooking up with. And to talk about that, we'll have to talk more about who Sykkuno is. Sykkuno became super famous after seemingly clout-sharking a more famous streamer named Lily Pichu during COVID. Many such nepotistic cases on Twitch. Anyway, Sykkuno is primarily known for his expert gameplay at Among Us, ironically, and acting like an anime character.
I
Which
do
you've done
usually get
well.
a negative KDA.
That's not true, you liar.
What? Well, I mean, honestly, I don't really keep track.
Every time I play with you, you have a positive kill-death ratio.
That's because I sweat extra hard because I want you to think I'm cool or something, you know? You know, Pokey, if it made you smile, then that's enough for me.
Wow.
Damn.
You trying to
What?
date or something?
What? No, I was just trying. What? Wait, what? You are extremely popular.
No, I'm still growing. I'm still growing, sir.
Huh? Oh,
still have much to
I
learn.
meant you're extremely popular with me because you're really cool.
Aw.
Personally, I thought that most people would think a guy in his 30s talking this way is pretty cringe, but apparently tons of women eat this shit up, and Sykkuno gained one of the largest female followings as a streamer.
I just thought everyone knew that uwu shy anime boys didn't exist in the real world. I thought we were all in on this kind of persona he was putting forth. Like, guys, we know he's not a shy uwu anime boy, right? He's a 30-year-old man. This is like a persona thing. In the past, where any one of us would push back against that persona publicly, his fans would get really upset at us, like, quote unquote bullying him. I had to yell at his fans or be yelled at by his fans because I was treating him like an adult.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that this would be such an effective strategy. As much as feminist video essayists of the past have made a million videos saying that manic pixie dream girl relationships like Ramona Flowers and Scott Pilgrim don't actually exist, apparently that type of a relationship is exactly what tons of women want.
Right there, maybe a little bit, like, you know, like, yeah. You're such a oh, okay, here we go. Wait, you're actually so much braver than I thought.
Only because you're here.
Alright, I'm in extreme.
Ew, cringe. But to put it simply, Sykkuno is basically the male version of Pokimane. He pretends to be an anime character, while Pokimane will LARP as a Japanese girl by doing stuff like covering her mouth while she laughs.
I am wishing you a happy new year, and I'm rooting for us.
I wonder how many times she practiced or reshot that moment where she blows out the candles until it had the perfect anime level of kawaii. You can see there's a cut right before she blows out the candles. So while Pokimane will do this anime girl shit, Sykkuno does the male version of that by acting like Izuku from My Hero Academia or Ken from Dandadan. I never would have guessed that the uwu male anime character archetype was designed to actually attract women because I just see it as cringe. Now, before we move on, let's just get the obvious out of the way. I do not like Sykkuno as a person. I don't enjoy defending someone who has routinely cheated on his long-term girlfriend, while at the same time, hiding that relationship from the women that he got involved with. This is not a good person. This is someone who is probably just as manipulative and deceptive as Pokimane. So it's not a shock that Sykkuno and Pokimane were friends. However, despite not liking Sykkuno, what I hate even more is how often people are trying to blur the lines between what is and what isn't sexual assault. Being an asshole doesn't make you a rapist. Not liking someone as a person doesn't mean that the allegations against them are true. And I want to emphasize that because an uncomfortable amount of people will decide that someone is guilty or not based on how much they like them, instead of the actual facts of the case. That part of human nature is why we're lucky that the criminal legal standard in America is innocent until proven guilty. That being said, let's move on to the next accuser, the one who actually started all the drama, a she-her who goes by Hemal or Mal, and what a shock, she has an OnlyFans or a Patreon. Same difference. It seems like anytime there's a false allegation on social media, there's an OnlyFans chick close by. Guys need to learn their lesson and stay away from these women. Anyway, Mal posts a Google Doc on Twitter and captions it, "Exposing Sykkuno, a serial cheater, master manipulator, and dangerous predator." Well, that's pretty spicy. When you use the word predator, I'm thinking he's like a sex offender or a criminal, so that's a pretty serious allegation. Let's hear why she made it. She starts the document off by saying, "On Valentine's Day of this year, I was followed on Twitter by Sykkuno. I thought it was amazing that such a big content creator even knew I existed, let alone followed me on social media. He had been my role model and someone I looked up to for a long time, ever since my days in high school. However, what I learned about Sykkuno after that day would make me regret my decision. Alright, so already she's framing him as a child groomer by saying, he was my role model and I've looked up to him since high school. Because of that, let's be clear by saying that everyone involved in these allegations was over the age of 18. I believe Mal is 20 and Leia was like 22 or 23 at the time of her allegations. I don't care if Sykkuno is currently 34. They're all consenting adults, and I've been getting annoyed at how often people are being called child predators for doing stuff with another adult. So after these opening statements, Mal urges all other victims to come forward because there's strength in numbers. Oh, so they're victims now. Victims of what exactly? Page 2. After Valentine's Day, I was so excited about him following me that I told a friend who then urged me to strike up a conversation. I finally worked up the courage to send him a DM, and he replied right away. Okay, so pay attention. Sykkuno did not start the conversation. Mal started the conversation. She approached him. All he did was follow her on Twitter. I don't know, maybe he was gooning one day and wanted to save the account. I mean, there are plenty of big random accounts on Twitter who follow me, and I've never messaged them or followed them back. Following someone is not a big deal or a predatory act. So let's be clear, much like Leia initiated the conversation about hotel rooms, Mal initiated this conversation too. Then Mal talks about them playing games together online and titles a chapter, Interest in Where I Live, to, I guess, portray Sykkuno as a crazy stalker. After this, she says, Sykkuno made plans to meet me IRL. It was set to be the same weekend as Dokumi 2026, since he was flying over anyway to attend TwitchCon EU. Going to the aquarium would be our first date. I also learned that there is a 15-year age gap between us. She puts this text in bold to, again, I guess, make him look like a child predator, even though she's an adult. What I find weird, though, is how is she just learning his age? She said she was a fan for years, he was even a role model, and his age is public information. You never Googled it? But even if she didn't know, if she really thought the age difference was a problem, then she could have just stopped. I don't see why his age is relevant here, considering that she was aware of it and yet continued to have a conversation about moving in with him right after first talking with him. With Sykkuno, our relationship moved so incredibly fast, it almost felt like a dream. It was like he could make anything I wanted happen, and as someone as prolific and successful as him, I had no reason to doubt anything he said to me. Then she talks about a cat or something. So here we have a full display of Mal's motivations for interacting with Sykkuno. She starts by saying, oh my god, a famous person followed me, I should message him. Now she's discussing visa options and a possible move-in while saying, he can make anything I wanted happen. Okay, so Mal is definitely a sociopath. Both of them probably are, but let's be clear, the kind of relationship that Mal is describing is not one where she's like in love or enjoys Sykkuno's company or admires personality traits he has. Her description of his value is, look at all the stuff I can get from him.
One of the best months of Among Us. I feel like I shouldn't say numbers, but I will say I made more than I made in an entire year as a software developer in 1 month. Wow. Like, not a little more. It was like more than 2 or 3 times as much as my whole year's salary in
You
1
made
month.
3 years worth of your salary.
Yeah. In a month when it feels too good to be true.
This is not a victim. This is someone who looks like she fully intended to fleece him for clout or money. And she's only writing this Google Doc because she found out that there were other girls. She's mad that he's better at the game. And now she's implying that he's like a financial abuser because he gave her some money that she didn't ask for. I mean, you could have just sent the money back if you didn't want it, but instead you posted what he bought you on social media. Seems like you were happy to take his money. So that's pretty much the end of this document. It was really a lot of nothing. Granted, it's bad that he lied about not being in a relationship, but the words victim and predator have an association with criminality in the eyes of the public, so if you're going to call him a predator and yourself a victim, you better have more than what's in this document. Oh, and one more thing. At the end, Mal links this Discord call of an argument that she had with Sykkuno after she found out he was in a relationship.
This is not settled. I'm beyond upset with you.
I mean, that's fine. By settled, I mean, like, probably never talking again.
You and me?
Yes.
What? Why?
Is that not why?
What is why? I'm still upset with you, but you didn't cheat on me. You can still talk to me and be, like, make up for your actions. Don't get me wrong, because I always am there for second chances. But I never will forgive you for cheating on her.
Weird how she's saying that she still wants to talk to the guy who she's calling a predator, probably still wants his money and fame. Also, technically the correct word is a womanizer or a player. And last, speaking of, after getting public backlash, Mal goes on to Twitter to say, "Sorry, English isn't my first language. I didn't know how people view the word predator." Nice, the Hassan Piker 9/11 defense.
But you understand now, and not just now, but you understood fairly soon after you said it, that saying Americans deserve 9/11 is a completely different statement and one that's wrong.
No, I didn't say Americans deserve 9/11. I said America deserves 9/11.
Right, but that's
and
still
in that
wrong.
Moment, well, maybe you can chalk it up to English being my second language or whatever you want to chalk it up to.
Right, so you didn't know what you were saying when you know words like prolific, as well as tons of idioms and terms like love bombing. You understand pop culture references, and most importantly, you very obviously understand which English words to use to make people come to the conclusion that Sykkuno is a stalker and a child groomer. This person is very good at English. If I didn't hear her accent in that call, I would have thought she was a native speaker, so she definitely is lying about her language ability. Now, it's already bad enough that many women feel empowered to throw out false allegations like it's nothing and basically receive zero consequences for it. But what makes everything worse is the massive industrial complex that likes to help false accusers by signal boosting their statements. Without these two forces working together, false allegations would not be so prevalent. Which brings us to a video essayist who goes by Mujin, who got 2 million views in under a week after covering this story about Sykkuno and his accusers. Now, in the past, Mujin has had a pretty strong reputation for being one of those guys who checks the sources and is good with research. But from my perspective, as someone who has only recently found his channel in the past 6 months, when it comes to legal issues or serious allegations, Mujin should not be trusted at all. This guy has zero understanding of standards of proof or how to do any actual fact-checking. I also don't believe that he has the critical thinking skills or the moral discipline to discuss things like sexual assault allegations. Let's talk about why I think that.
The male streamer in question here was none other than Sykkuno. What made him really desirable is just how socially awkward he was. He was innocent in an endearing way. He was a boy failure that needed a woman to fix him. In a nutshell, he was this picture, almost allergic to other women. He just couldn't handle anything romantic. He would get too flustered. This made many of his fans want to be the one to finally fix him. But make no mistake here. This was all a perfectly crafted image that he had made for himself. He wanted you to think that he was innocent, naive, a boy failure, someone who's inexperienced in relationships and would never hurt a fly. Because in reality, behind this mirage, this illusion, there was a master manipulator, a serial cheater, and a predator.
Yeah, what? Again, that is a very strong statement to make considering the evidence that we have so far. And let me emphasize that this video really is just about Mal's document, and all that happens in it is Sykkuno talks to her online, and then to a different girl named Leia. Maybe he met Leia at a convention, but as far as I can tell, Sykkuno didn't have sex with either of them. The most salacious thing that happens in that document was Mal sending him some spicy content where she's insisting that he make personal use of that material, which kind of makes her look like the aggressor in terms of sexuality. So why is Mujin using a word like predator when it's a word that's going to immediately make viewers think that Sykkuno committed a sex crime against these girls, when there's no evidence of that?
Someone who would make it a point for many years to target smaller content creators, take full advantage of the fact that he was one of the most desirable men in the streaming world, all while making it seem like he had no experience with women and that it just might be romantic. They just might be that special someone who can fix him. What he would somehow forget to tell them, though, is that he had been in a monogamous relationship since 2021. But you don't have to take my word for it, because he admits to everything in a recorded voice call with the victim herself.
What's Mal a victim of? A few DMs, a new sweater, and a copy of Resident Evil 9? What did he do? She talked to him first. Maybe the worst of it was the illicit material she sent, but really is it that big of a deal when he can see the same content from her for like $12? All Sykkuno did was click follow on some chick he was gooning to, and she initiated everything else. I mean, if you're going to talk about how he wanted to take advantage of smaller creators, what about Mal's admission that her only interest in Sykkuno was to use him for clout or money? Or the fact that she virtue signals and pretends that she doesn't want money, when one of her Patreon tiers is, spoil me with $600 and I'll give you nothing. Like I said, Mujin is ass at critical thinking. Does he have no relationship experience? How is it not obvious that Mal's framing of this relationship in her document is incredibly transactional? Well, really, both of them are trying to take advantage of each other. But how do you not notice this? How do you not notice that Mal opens up with a very overtly sexual comment and then tries to push for a date a second time when he gives a non-answer? This is someone who wants something. She's just mad that she got outgamed. Also, just as an FYI, since we're talking about character here, Did you guys know that Hemal, of all people, made some very interesting tweets about Charlie Kirk right after he was murdered, where she expresses joy that he was killed for saying his political beliefs? What a wonderful person she is.
Going to the aquarium would be our first date. I also learned that there is a 15-year age gap between us. Right, so look, I personally spoke to the victim about this. I asked, would that usually have been a red flag or a turnoff? She said yes. But the thing is, this is Sykkuno we're talking about here, right? So she made an exception, because as you saw in the intro of this document, she used to watch him in high school. She genuinely looked up to him. To say that she was starstruck was an understatement, and that's exactly what he was counting on. Now, while keeping that 15-year age gap in mind, this next section definitely hits different. It's titled, Making Plans to Move In Together.
Again, trying to frame Sykkuno as a child groomer, so he leans into the age gap without asking, how in the hell did Mal not know his age when she was a fan for multiple years? Who the hell cares about the age gap anyway? They were both consenting adults. Stop acting like she's a child. Again, I think the only reason that they're bringing this up is to make him look like he committed a crime when he didn't. And the constant lack of perspective in this video is annoying.
He simply wasn't seen like the run-of-the-mill Twitch streamer. No, there was definitely more to this. And one of the main reasons why this worked out so well is because he was seen as a boy failure. No, not the kind of guy who's unemployed and lives in a dump and smells like shit. I'm talking about the ideal boy failure. The guy who's handsome, smells nice, doesn't live in a dump, but is instead just a hopeless romantic. Someone who turns all red when you want to initiate physical contact. The most innocent, naive soul imaginable. The appeal of a boy failure isn't necessarily that he's a failure. It's the fact that he's perfect, but just needs one person to fix him. And that's how a significant chunk of his fan base felt.
If you're going to call a guy a predator and all the affected parties victims because he acted like an anime character, then at least half the girls on Twitch are pretending to be anime girls because men wouldn't engage with them otherwise. And that's not even counting the VTubers. Pokimane is probably the best example of someone who super performatively acts like an anime girl. Also, how many girls intentionally pitch up their voices so more guys will watch them? Well, the guys who donate anyway.
So, Sire, I'm visiting from America, and I've never had nanos before, and I've heard some great things, to get the medium.
This girl, Extra Emily, is almost 30, by the way. These people are not stupid. They're very successful at playing characters, and they know which archetypes cause people to give them money. Speaking of Sykkuno and Pokimane, there's also this underlying ideology, well, actually it's pretty overt, where Mujin is like, how dare this guy pretend to be single and manipulate viewers? Bro, listen, cheating on your girlfriend is bad, but if you're going to call a guy a predator for pretending to be single and manipulating people, then I can show you dozens of female Twitch streamers who are doing the exact same thing. You don't think they have simps trying to DM them and chat them up on Discord just like with Sykkuno? So anyway, there's not much else to Mujin's video that I didn't already cover. He spends most of it reading what Mal said and then throws in the 17-minute, mostly boring Discord call with Sykkuno, probably just to boost the watch time for more ad revenue. And last but not least, he does a little edit where he turns Sykkuno into Thomas the Tank Engine and reinforces that Sykkuno is a predator, which looks a lot like defamation. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if this legally counts, but after seeing how much Mujin tried to make Sykkuno look like a sex offender with no proof, I would be making some phone calls to my legal team because the aftermath of this video was that it seems like a pretty large portion of his streamer friend group threw him under the bus for something that he didn't really do, which kills his ability to make money from collabs.
Of course, before streaming today, I expected a lot of people in the chat asking me to talk about the Sykkuno situation. I was really stressing about it, and then I realized, I'm stressing about it so much, and Sykkuno hasn't even said anything yet. I think what I really want to say is I am just so sorry for all the hurt that's been caused to the victims, to our communities. I feel everyone's hurt and shock and confusion, and I'm right there with ya. I really try so hard to make my channel a safe space for everybody, and I really hope the people that do need to speak up will.
That was an Oscar-level performance from Pokimane. Interesting choice, though, for her to use the word victim. In fact, I'm not the only person who pointed that out. An expert English language scholar who goes by XQC questions her use of the word victim, to which she responds by playing dumb, pulling out Webster's dictionary and saying, well, actually, Iman, no one cares about what the dictionary definition of the word is. The colloquial or common use definition, or how people feel about the word, is what actually matters here, and we know what you were trying to do. Going back to Mujin, needless to say, I'm not the only one who had a problem with his framing of the story. In fact, a ton of people did, especially his clear use of the word predator to imply that Sykkuno committed sex crimes. As I said before, womanizer or player or fuckboy is the correct term here. Predator is not appropriate here because it implies that there was criminal activity or that the people in question weren't willing participants. Mujin responds to the criticism by also pulling out Webster's dictionary and saying, well, technically the definition is, you've got to be kidding me, I'm tired of everyone playing dumb. Literally, this whole drama is just people pretending to not know things because they got caught doing something immoral. Mujin, come on. I know you know how people perceive that word. There were many creative choices that you made in this video that shows you understand what you were doing when you said predator. Just like it's clear that Mal understands what it means. And to reiterate, I don't like Sykkuno. I think he's an asshole who cheated on his girlfriend. But the conversation is not about that. It's about people enabling false allegations, to which Mujin, by the way, has done on more than one occasion. And this stuff is a problem, not only because it harms a lot of innocent people who usually have no options for recourse against the ones who falsely accused them, but also it hurts actual victims because people won't believe them. God forbid an OnlyFans girl actually gets assaulted, no one's going to think they're being honest. So many people criticize Mujin for the video, one of them being a VTuber who goes by Powder. In this tweet, she is directly responding to Mujin's video as someone who has interacted with Sykkuno, stating that he was obviously a player, but she never felt manipulated by him. Powder goes on to say that Mujin was never really a reliable narrator, and personally I agree based on the content of his that I've seen. Now, because Mujin, of course, always wants to make sure that he hears all sides of the story and not just the parts that fit his bias, he then quote tweets Powder, basically giving her the middle finger by saying, haha, you have no viewers. Which, for one, is a really ironic thing to say when his video was supposed to be about him standing up for small influencers. And two, I could have sworn that I've seen Mujin make this exact argument where he says that anyone who disagrees with his obviously wrong take is a clout chaser. We get it. You're really cool because lots of people watch your videos. It doesn't mean you're right, though. Mujin then threatens to blackmail Powder and expose that she dated a black guy. Who cares?
I've never dated a black guy. I never slept with a black guy, by the way.
And finally, he yet again lies and pretends that he doesn't know what the colloquial definition of the word predator is. With that said, this whole time Sykkuno has not said that much until he dropped this letter. And the English voice actor for Izuku Midoriya, Justin Briner, was kind enough to read it out loud for us, so I don't have to.
I would like to apologize to everyone I have disappointed. Most of all, to my girlfriend. I am so sorry I put you through so much. I never want to make these mistakes again and hurt you and the people I care about. I was unfaithful, and I own and fully admit that. I lied to people and told them I was single, which I know is not right. I'm sorry to all of the people that I hurt by doing this. However, I have seen some false accusations about me that are not true. I cannot allow false accusations and such extreme labels to be placed on me. I do understand that the people making these claims did it from a place of hurt. So please, do not send any more hate to anyone. I just want the situation to get better, and I wish them the best.
Someone did an edit with the My Hero Academia inspirational background music, which was really funny, but I'm tired of getting copyright claimed, so you can find that version by searching for this tweet here. Though, personally, I don't really care about Sykkuno's apology because I don't have any proof that he's actually sorry, so for now, it's just empty words. But the more interesting part of this is the message from Sykkuno's girlfriend, who was the actual victim, by the way, where she chastises all of the clout chasers who were trying to use these allegations to boost their careers. What a shock. It's like what I said earlier. These sociopaths doing this for personal gain hurts the actual victims. Imagine finding out that you were being cheated on, and then it becomes a massive public drama because some guy wanted a few $1,000s on a YouTube video. Keep in mind that since nobody knew about Sykkuno's girlfriend, she is not voluntarily in the public eye, so this is kind of a shit thing to do while pretending that it's on her behalf.
All I care about right now is that it's okay. Keep me updated on that.
I don't know if that's a possibility.
You can keep me updated on how she's doing. You can keep me updated on when she moves out, because I don't think she should be living with you anymore.
I don't think you need me to do that.
I mean, yeah, I care about her. Like,
yeah, she can do that.
True. I'll just reach out to her then.
Keep in mind that directly before Hemal talks about how much she cares about Sykkuno's girlfriend, She says that she still wants to date him despite the cheating. Yeah, she should break up with you for cheating on her, but I'll give you a second chance. Make sure you let me know when you guys have broken up so I can slide back into your DMs. I mean, how is this not just standard gold digger behavior, especially after that moment where she talks about how much she can get from Sykkuno in the Google Doc? She obviously is trying to get them to break up so she can have exclusive access to his money and clout, particularly considering the millions of dollars she can make on her OnlyFans/Patreon by being attached to someone as famous as Sykkuno. How do you not see this, Mujin? Mal is just as guilty as he is. That's why Mal never contacted his girlfriend or asked how she felt about all this being exposed publicly before making the document. She's mad that she just lost Amaranth levels of wealth. Again, Mujin either knows nothing about women or has zero critical thinking skills if he didn't notice this. Sykkuno's girlfriend then goes on to say that she's trying to work things out with him, which I don't think she should, but whatever, it's their relationship. However, the great news is that after all of this, people started massively shitting on Mujin, the one who enabled all the nonsense in the first place, by signal-boosting allegations that falsely suggested that Sykkuno was a sex criminal. In response, Mujin deleted the expose on Sykkuno and then made an apology video where he sounds like he's taking accountability and he sounds like he's going to do better, but if you know anything about his behavior, then you can tell that he is definitely not sorry for what he did.
I'm making this in regard to my last video about Sykkuno. I want to clarify how this video came to be, while also taking accountability and apologizing for the mistakes that I made. So, how did this all begin? Well, for me, it was on April 7th when I was reached out to by Mal for the first time. I was told that a Google Doc was releasing soon about a big content creator. And this is when I was asked if I wanted access to it early to maybe make a video about it. The document was going to publicly release on the 10th anyway. This means that this wasn't some grand conspiracy, okay? This document was going to release with or without me.
Wait, so his story is that he first heard about all this on April 7th and he posted the video on April 10th? He also insists that this was the first time he had ever talked to Mal, the one who wrote the Google Doc. There's some controversy on that, but I'll take his word for it. By the way, he doesn't forget to remind everyone that he gets millions of views on his videos. God, this guy is arrogant. Anyway, he released the original video on Sykkuno on April 10th after first hearing about everything on April 7th. So you mean to tell me that you did a 1-hour scripted video on this in less than 3 days? Well, minus about 17 minutes. But how did you do that? And 3 days is generous. Really, it's more like 2. I say this because this is not a slop tuber reporting the daily news. His whole reputation is that he's the guy who does his due diligence and fact-checks everything. 2 or 3 days is not enough for a topic like this. Fact-checking is one of the most time-consuming parts of this job. Here he is quoting Breaking Bad and bragging about how fast he is. But the reality is that the only way you could get this kind of video out this quickly is if you literally just took everyone's word for it and did no independent research of your own. You're really not fact-checking that much if you can release a video on a complicated subject like this that fast. In fact, I remember the last guy I covered who bragged about how fast he could get videos done, and when I actually fact-checked him, it turns out he got pretty much everything wrong. I hear he's being sued by Ethan Klein right now for defamation.
If you've watched my channel before, then you'd know that I'm someone who highly values both sides of the story. It's actually something that I always implore you to do before forming your own opinions. And while I do receive so many DMs about scoops or exclusive info about certain topics, I mostly never take them, always choosing to wait for things to unfold in public first before making my videos.
Oh, come on. Mujin, look at me. You did not just say that shit unironically. You posted your video instantly after the allegations came out, which gives Sykkuno no time to respond. How is this waiting for the full story? We never heard his side, especially considering that you made some incredibly strong claims about him. I mean, Mujin's definition of listening to both sides sounds a lot more like a coordinated attack against Sykkuno between Mujin, Leia, Bao the Whale, Hemal, and Elfie Leia. Also, if my memory serves me right, just a few months ago with Tectone's case, where he unjustly lost a court hearing for a protective order that I believe was maliciously filed by his ex, so she wouldn't face repercussions for allegations of sexual assault that she made against him, that had an extreme lack of proof. However, when talking about that case, Mujin felt comfortable saying Tectone was guilty of sexual assault, while at the same time openly admitting that he never read the court transcript because it wasn't public yet. And I think it's crazy that he did no fact-checking before he went on this long Twitter diatribe when we regularly see corrupt judges allowing all kinds of atrocities. God, especially in family court where the standard of proof is probable cause. So Mujin is just super incompetent. He doesn't know how to do independent research or scrutinize information.
What made the situation special, though, was the 17-minute video recording of the voice call between Mal and Sykkuno. My logic here was simple. It was me thinking that we already had the other side of the story, and it was Sykkuno admitting to his wrongdoings in the most raw and unfiltered way possible.
Holy shit, this guy's an idiot. Powder was right. He's not a reliable source. No one should trust him if he thought only receiving information from one side was fact-checking both sides. Again, he obviously just believes whatever people tell him, and he's too incompetent to know how to scrutinize information. He's getting these large view counts not because his information is highly accurate, but because he knows storytelling skills. So, forewarning, just because someone is good at video editing and selling a narrative and sounding smart doesn't mean they're actually correct.
The first mistake can be found in the intro of the video, and it's me using the word predator. Yes, it was my idea, and the logic behind it was me trying to encompass everything, like the serial cheating, lying, and deliberate targeting of smaller content creators into one word. Before using it, I even made sure to double check its definition in multiple dictionaries, which said things like a person or an organization that uses weaker people for their own advantage, or one who injures or exploits others for personal gain or profit. Due to this, I had to come to the conclusion that this word fits. I'd find out quickly afterwards, though, that for many people, that word is only reserved to describe pedophiles or sexual predators, which made a substantial amount of people feel misled after watching the intro of my video. It made it seem like a hit piece, exaggerating things, and it also made it seem like Sykkuno had committed very serious crimes, enough to land him in a high-security prison or something, when that clearly wasn't the case. That was not my intention at all, and I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, I don't believe that you're sorry. We're only 4 minutes into a 12-minute video, and you've already been incredibly deceptive. Here's an idea. You sold a false narrative that cost Sykkuno numerous business opportunities because he lost a part of his streamer friend group. Words mean nothing to me. You financially benefited here and got 2 million views. That's like, what, $10,000 to $20,000?
Now look, with all that being said, apologies are great, but there's no use presenting them if there's no attempt to act on them. And that's exactly what I intend to do.
Okay, why don't you show that you're actually sorry by giving that money away to charity or something? If you honestly believe that what you did was immoral, then you shouldn't get to make $10,000+ off falsely accusing someone. So donate the money and then I'll believe you. After all, you didn't do this for views, right?
I thought that since my channel had grown exponentially, don't ask me how or why because I have no idea, I could maybe use my platform for a good cause, spreading awareness about Sykkuno's behavior so that no one else gets tricked into being a homewrecker against their will, while in parallel, encouraging others who have been wronged by him to finally speak up. Additionally, seeing that the person speaking up was doing so from a small account, I figured I could help amplify that message to spread maximum awareness. Now yes, some people could definitely argue that I was desperate for a topic to bring in views, but to me it didn't matter because I was already lucky enough to be able to cover niche topics I enjoy and still somehow reach over 1 million views on them.
God, this guy takes every chance he can get to brag about his view count and talk about how moral he is. Okay, so how about you do the right thing and give away the profits from a video where you fucked up majorly and basically implied that someone was a child groomer? You don't need the money, right? Because you said that you already have numerous videos that are hits.
He'd also call out anyone trying to frame him with false accusations. So yeah, as you can see, not much has changed. He's already admitted to these things in the voice call with Mal. When it comes to false accusations though, yes, there are stories that have circulated for years among some VTubers that accuse Sykkuno of doing worse than cheating. At this point though, it is not up to me to say whether it's true or not, just pointing out what he might be referring to.
He's still doing it. He's still doing the thing that people were mad about. Now guys, I'm not saying these are true, but I just want you to know that I've heard rumors that Sykkuno is actually a sex criminal for real. So not only is this sort of an admission that he did mean what everyone thought he meant when he used the word predator, but also he's signal boosting the idea that he has secret information that we aren't privy to that may confirm Sykkuno did commit a sexual assault. Why would Mujin bring this up if he didn't want us to think that Sykkuno is a criminal? Because it's clear to me as someone who doesn't have secret intel that when Sykkuno says false accusers and extreme labels, he's obviously talking about you, Mujin, and Leia, and Mal, and like 2 other people. Nobody requested further elaboration from anonymous sources. If you were actually sorry, you wouldn't be trying to shift attention away from yourself by saying, well, these other people said this, so maybe he is a predator. I can't confirm it though, but I just want to throw that out there.
The Sykkuno video was live for a week, so I'll keep this video live for a week as well.
Oh, so he's just going to delete the video. Good thing I saved it. You see what I mean when I say that he's not actually sorry for enabling false accusers? Ironically, he cites a PewDiePie video where Felix apologizes for saying the N-word on accident during a live stream 8 years ago. That's a big who cares moment, but you know what the great thing about that apology video from Felix is? It's still live. Now, I get why Mujin removed the original Sykkuno video, but to remove the apology video after 1 week makes it very much look like he doesn't want people knowing that he screwed up. On top of that, he doesn't apologize to Sykkuno for misrepresenting him. He instead apologizes to the audience. And he doesn't apologize to Powder either, though I don't think she's that broken up about it.
Mujin, thank you so much for being a fucking retard. You made my night.
So Mujin's behavior is very suspicious. That is yet another reason why I don't trust him, because here's the reality. An uncomfortable amount of content creators like Mujin will misrepresent the facts of a case because they know the audience won't independently look this stuff up themselves. I know a lot of viewers are unhappy about this reality of nature, and that's why I always try to be very clear in my videos on where I get my information. I do that so people can fact check me independent of my video and come to their own conclusions. A courtesy that, unfortunately, most creators don't seem to offer. Actually, thanks to AI, these days it's much easier to find the source material when people don't cite it. But really, the only way to reduce the number of influencers like Mujin who try to get their viewers to believe a false narrative is to every so often spend the time fact checking the sources yourself. Not every video, but if you want to do your part and make the world a better place, every so often take one for the team and do a little research on some of the claims that creators are making, so that if you do find someone who is being dishonest, you can call them out. Even if it's just a very small percentage of viewers fact-checking each video, it'll make a big deal, especially if over 2 million people watched it. And the direct benefit to you as a person who is doing your part is that it teaches you how to research and research quickly, which is a crucial skill for a ton of things. More importantly, it teaches you critical thinking. People ask me every so often how to develop critical thinking skills. Well, this is one of the ways that you do it. You research, you think about what you found, and then you try to articulate it to other people. And by articulate it, I mean you shitpost on Twitter or the YouTube comment section. If you're going to engage in unemployed behavior, then you might as well use it to train your brain. Many modern philosophers have been developed in the comment section because writing is one of the strongest ways to get good at critical thinking. Anyway, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.